Ladies and gentlemen, Psalms 3 says, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill, Selah. I lay down and slept. I awoke, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for you have smitten all my enemies upon the cheekbone. You have broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing is upon your people. Selah. I pray protection, like this is saying here, to the people in Florida right now as Hurricane Irma comes through on them. There's also Hurricane Jose that's coming through the Caribbean. I pray protection to those people as this hurricane passes through the Caribbean as well. I also pray for cure to the people who have suffered from the blast of the hurricane. It's one thing when you can preserve your life. It's another thing when your stuff is gone. But it's better if your life is still salvaged together and the stuff is gone. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing I want to say. And if any of you can help these people, please do. Let's see how we can put our hands together and help each other in a time of need and crisis. Legacy. Legacy is passed down from one boxer to the next. As you can see here, the great Sugar Ray Robinson, he backed Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali passed it on to Sugar Ray Leonard. It's really awesome how we can see this lineage here. And it continued onwards. You see Sugar Ray Leonard here passing it on to Floyd Mayweather. In fact, Sugar Ray Leonard was one who passed on the award to Floyd Mayweather in the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if he's inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame. I think he is, or he will be at least. And here he's receiving an award from his mentor, Sugar Ray Leonard. Someone who Floyd idolized as he was coming up in age. I really love the guy. Sugar Ray is a really good stand-up guy. Legacy. Now, I want to talk to you guys about sometimes haters in the business. And this is one of them. And they really hurt the business. Larry Merchant was another one. Emmanuel Stewart towards Floyd Mayweather, he got salty and very negative towards Floyd. And he kept on downgrading Floyd, especially in his fights and stuff, because Floyd made claims that he was as good as Sugar Ray Robinson, or better. He was the best ever. Which is sad, but it is what it is. Let's get into these haters and their comments. We're going to talk about Dougie Fischer. He's the guy, the hater. He writes for the Ring magazine. Here's what he got to say about Floyd Mayweather.
One thing about Mayweather is that he's a very good matchmaker, he and his team. And so, I hear people say, well, he's the best pure. They try to come to me like he's a great fighter. And I'm like, no.
He's not a great fighter?
Not an all-time great, like my all-time greats. You know what I mean? He's not. I don't.
Well, that is varies depending on the person.
I don't think he can be put in the same sentence as a Ray Robinson or a Henry Armstrong or even a Sugar Ray Leonard. Right?
Some people will put him in there. Depends. It varies.
But they don't know. But they're uneducated. I mean that's another interview for another time.
Yeah.
Okay, so this fool. Let's move on. Here we go.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I was an Olympic gold medalist. Cuban style, crafty, southpaw, you stick and move and get dirty in the trenches.
Who is he talking about? Let me back it up a little bit so you guys can hear who this guy is. He's talking about. I think it's around about 419. Let's go.
You're asking me about styles that can beat Mayweather. Mayweather didn't fight a lot of boxers. You know what I'm saying? He fought a lot of. How many stick and move guys?
Not many right now.
How many guys who box like Aristide Lara?
Yeah.
Did box like a Rigon Diaz? I mean, and they were tricky Cubans that he could have fought.
Yeah.
There was a guy named Joel Casamayor. Yeah, that would have been interesting. I was an Olympic gold medalist. Cuban style, crafty, southpaw, you stick and move and get dirty in the trenches. Dio Bayless Hurtado. Look him up on BoxRec.
Alright, that guy's from another era. Dio Bayless Hurtado faced Pernell Whitaker and some others. But yes, Joel Casamayor is the guy he's talking about. Problem with this is Floyd did call out the winner of Acelino Freitas and Joel Casamayor. They were fighting for a unification match. Floyd had actually wanted to face Casamayor or Freitas before they faced each other. He actually wanted to face Casamayor first, before he faced Diego Corrales. He got Corrales, he beat Corrales, and then he expressed his willingness to face the winner of Acelino Freitas and Joel Casamayor, and you know what happened, right? They didn't want to face him, all right? Casamayor lost that fight, by the way. to Acelino Freitas. So, no, they didn't want to face Floyd Mayweather, especially after he beat Diego Corrales. Nobody wanted to face Floyd Mayweather, to be honest with you. So that's why he had to move up. He faced, I think it was Jesus Chavez, and he faced Carlos Hernandez, and then he went up in weight. And when he was going up in weight, he was like, man, I'm too big for this weight class. These guys, they don't want to fight me, so I'm moving up. And besides that, he was with Top Rank. I just thought I'd throw that in. But yeah, Dougie Fischer says he doesn't think of Floyd as a great fighter. He doesn't think of him as in the category of Sugar Ray Robinson or Henry Armstrong or even Sugar Ray Leonard. And haters and detractors say that all the time. They say it all the time. But I just wanted you to hear it from his mouth. Let's go.
How would you describe the era of Mayweather now that it's over? In one word, how could you sum it all up? TPE?
No, he's not the best ever.
Why not? He's undefeated, 49-0.
Undefeated? So what is
He beat
49-0?
Future Hall of Famers, many champions.
Who else has 49-0 record?
Rocky Marciano.
Is he considered the greatest heavyweight of all time?
Arguably, he can be considered.
Arguably, but how often do you see a top 10 or top 5 list of former heavyweight champs and you see Rocky Marciano ahead of Muhammad Ali or Joe Louis or even Jack Johnson?
That's true.
Very rare.
Yeah.
Almost never. I'll tell you, any most credible boxing historians do not rate him number one, and that should tell you that to go unbeaten in 40 plus fights is special. To go unbeaten in 49 consecutive fights is special. But fighters have surpassed 50-0. They've surpassed 60-0. Now, just because they didn't retire before they suffered their first loss or two, that doesn't mean that they are lesser fighters than somebody who retired before suffering his first loss. I mean, I know the object in boxing is to win. I know that's the object in sports, professional sports, is to win. But when you're evaluating a team or an individual, particularly a combat athlete, a boxer, or an MMA fighter, you have to take into consideration who they fought. In other words, the quality of opposition. When they fought, and at what point in their career. Yes, but you have to look at who he fought, when he fought them, and what transpired once they fought.
Good. So Dougie Fischer said a lot of true things there. I'm not going to lie with him. 49-0 by itself doesn't mean much. And there are guys who passed 49-0 and then they lost. Yes, that is true. Here's the thing that Dougie Fischer needs to understand. Now, he said it himself. He said you have to look at who they fought, when they fought them, and what transpired when they fought. And let me use an example that he's going to use. Julio Cesar Chavez. All right? I'm going to use him. Julio Cesar Chavez lost to a fighter named... There he is. Frankie Randall. Now, let me just be abundantly clear. He lost to Pernell Whitaker, and they called it a draw, but just leave that alone. He lost to Frankie Randall. Was Frankie Randall a Pernell Whitaker? Was he a Mildred Taylor? Was he a Tony the Tiger Lopez? Was he a Oscar De La Hoya? Was he a Greg Hogan? Was he any A-level fighter? No. Was he a B-level fighter? No. Was he a C-level fighter? Yes. He lost to a C-level fighter while he was still at the top of his game. It's one thing to lose to a world-class fighter. Not just a world-class fighter, but an extraordinary fighter, a Hall of Famer or an all-time great. But it's another thing when you lose to someone you're not supposed to lose to. It shows that you either took that person for granted or you didn't prepare properly for the fight. He never lost to Frankie Randall ever again, but the point is, he lost to a guy he shouldn't have lost to. Make this make sense. Frankie Randall's legacy hangs on the fact that he beat Julio Cesar Chavez, a guy he shouldn't have beaten. I'm just saying. So, when evaluating someone who's 50-0 like Floyd Mayweather, 50-0 or 49-0, yes, you're taking into account who he fought, when he fought them, and what transpired when he fought them. Absolutely. Absolutely. But when you look at the caliber of opposition Floyd Mayweather's faced, it's even more astonishing that he's 50-0 at that point in time. How many Hall of Famers he faced? How many future Hall of Famers he's faced? How many all-time greats he's faced? Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya lost to Felix. Anyway, you know what? We'll get to it. So let's just keep it going.
Because, yeah, a win over a split decision over Oscar De La Hoya, that sounds great. That's awesome. And it is great. That's one of his best wins. But Oscar De La Hoya in 2007 is not the same guy he was in 2000. So
let's evaluate that.
You know, if you're, from my perspective, Shane Mosley's victory over Oscar De La Hoya in 2000 is better than a victory over De La Hoya in 2007 after De La Hoya had lost a few times. It began to slow down. It suffered the first knockout loss of his career, you know, body shot stoppage to Bernard Hopkins at middleweight. But again,
okay, let's deal with that one time. Here's Oscar De La Hoya's career. He's saying that Shane Mosley's win, his first win at least, over Oscar De La Hoya in 2000, he said is a better win than Floyd Mayweather's win over Oscar De La Hoya in 2007. And his major reasons because Oscar, he said, slowed down, got a couple more losses on his career, and got stopped by Bernard Hopkins. All right? So let's just look at it. Here's Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather. The weight class was super welterweight, which is 154 pounds. Oscar came in 154 on the scales, and Floyd 150, which says Floyd's significantly smaller than Oscar. And since Oscar had been up at middleweight, when Oscar came in on fight night, he's at least 160 pounds. He's probably somewhere near 170 pounds, maybe 170 plus pounds on fight night. Floyd Mayweather admitted that he came in 148 pounds that night. Okay? We're just talking weight. Now, Floyd jumped up, by the way, to super welterweight to face Oscar, because that was the terms Oscar wanted him to face him at. Now, with Shane Mosley jumped up from lightweight to face Oscar De La Hoya in 2000. All right? However, on the scales, Shane Mosley came in 147 pounds and Oscar 146.5 pounds, showing that Shane Mosley could make the welterweight limit at least. That's how big Shane Mosley was. What people don't understand is this. Floyd is a small welterweight and has always been a small welterweight. To this day, Floyd Mayweather can't come in at 150 pounds. He just can't do it. Not on fight night. He has to chill, rest, eat a lot just to make 150 pounds because he's a small welterweight. Shane Mosley, on the other hand, is a huge welterweight. Shane Mosley walks around at 165 to 168 pounds. When he was fighting welterweight fights, Shane Mosley would come in 165 pounds. Okay? So when Mosley went up to welterweight from lightweight, Mosley just carried up his weight. He was a huge lightweight. That's why Mosley knocked out people so much. He was a big lightweight. He could make lightweight, but he was a big dude. That's why he hopped all the way up to welterweight easy. Now, probably on fight night, he was a little smaller than Oscar. I guess Oscar was walking around 160-something pounds, and Mosley was walking around 150-something pounds. But the point is, you just can't compare what Mosley did to Oscar with what Floyd did to Oscar weight-wise. Weight-wise, Mosley and Oscar were on a level playing field. Weight-wise, Floyd versus Oscar was on two different playing fields. That's the first point. The second point is, yes, Oscar knocked out Darrell Coley, but guess what? Darrell Coley got no knockout power. He's just a boxer. He can't knock out nobody. Darrell Coley wasn't a terror. However, when we look at Ricardo Mayorga versus Oscar, Ricardo Mayorga was a guy that stopped people. In fact, he knocked out Vernon Forrest. He knocked out Andrew Sixhead Lewis. He had a reputation for knocking out people and being a wild, tough boxer. Yeah, he had some losses too, but Oscar was the quickest to stop him in 6 rounds. Coming off of that fight, he faced Floyd Mayweather. Yes, he was older. Yes, he was less agile, but he was bigger. All right, he was bigger and he was stronger. And you know Oscar could hit hard. But why is it that Floyd had an easier time with Oscar than Shane Mosley did? Defense. This is boxing. Defense. Floyd let Oscar blow his load on him without really touching him. Defense. Then he took away his jab. And then he started beating him up in the final rounds. He's smarter than Mosley. Mosley's gung-ho. He comes straight ahead, fight you toe-to-toe, box you with a stick and move, and that's about it. Floyd had that shell. He had that defense. He let Oscar go off on him, and then he would counter him. When Oscar wanted to suck in air, he'd suck in some punches. That's how you beat a bigger, stronger fighter than you. So Dougie Fischer is saying that he thought Mosley's win was better than Oscar, but he's not factoring in all the variables. He's saying you need to know what happened when they fought. Well, you need to know what happened when they fought, Dougie Fischer. You got to have all your facts. But let's be consistent. Let's go with your argument that Oscar wasn't the same Oscar that faced Sugar Shane Mosley. Don't contradict yourself now. Let's go with that argument.
Yeah. You have to take into account, I don't just, how much does a loss detract? Like, Oscar De La Hoya lost to Felix Trinidad, right? They were both undefeated at the time. That was 1999. Most people thought Oscar won that fight. But even if he lost it by a point or two, I thought Oscar won the fight. It was by a point or two. You know, it was a close fight. But just because he lost that fight, a majority decision to a fellow future first ballot Hall of Famer who was also undefeated and at in his physical peak and prime, you have to take that into consideration. Oscar's lost to Bernard Hopkins. Yeah, he got stopped by Bernard Hopkins, but that's Bernard Hopkins. Yeah. He was the middleweight champ. Floyd never fought at middleweight. He never took on the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. Yeah. Oscar did. He took that risk. And
Let's keep it going.
Bernard Hopkins is a future Hall of Famer. Bernard Hopkins, in my opinion, is an all-time great. Bernard Hopkins went on to kick ass for another 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. First of all, he makes my case then. So now you can't take it away from Oscar that he got beaten by Bernard Hopkins, who was a bona fide middleweight. Oscar had only been in the middleweight division for one fight. He beat Felix Sturm. It's argued that Felix Sturm beat him, but that's another story for another day. That's not really his weight class. His preferred weight class was super welterweight anyway. And after he was beaten by Shane Mosley, he went up to middleweight. He fought Felix Sturm. Then he went and faced Bernard Hopkins, who was a long-standing middleweight, a full-fledged middleweight. And he was outboxing, by the way. If you look at the scorecards here, Keith McDonald had him beating Hopkins. Paul Smith didn't, and Dave Moretti didn't. But at least one judge had him beating, and I thought he was actually winning the fight. But Bernard Hopkins was coming on strong, and with those body punches, which he finally stopped Oscar with, he was getting inroads into Oscar. Even Bernard Hopkins admitted that Oscar was a tricky guy and he was quick. So I mean, you gotta hand him props for that. But the thing that again Dougie Fischer misses out on is the fact that Oscar De La Hoya did not start his career at super featherweight. That's again another piece of information that I think a lot of people do not know. Oscar began his career at lightweight. See, he's a lightweight here. All these are lightweight fights. Just so people know. But he had two super featherweight championship matches. So he went down to super featherweight, like Diego Corrales did, and he fought Jimmy Bredhal, and he won the super featherweight title, and then he went on to face Giorgio Campella at super featherweight, and that was it. That's the only two super featherweight fights he had in his entire career. So while people say, well, Oscar came up from super featherweight and he won 6 titles in 6 different divisions, yes, that is true, but he never was a super featherweight. He actually was a lightweight. He's a bigger guy than Floyd. So he really moved up 5 divisions. He spent time at lightweight. Spent time at lightweight for a decent amount of time there. Okay? 2 years. And then he went up to super lightweight. And he spent, how many years at super lightweight? He didn't spend very long. A piece of a year at super lightweight. Then he went up to welterweight. And he spent most of his career at welterweight. And then he moved up to super welterweight. Okay? Moved up to super welterweight after Shane Mosley fight. And after knocking out Turagati, he went up to super welterweight. Alright? And he spent the rest of his career at super welterweight. So he spent, from 2001 to 2007, mostly at super welterweight. He had 1 year off. So he had about 7 years 7 years at super welterweight, and a couple years at a couple years at lightweight. All right. Oh, sorry. And he spent a couple years at welterweight. So from 1997 all the way up to 2000 and 2000. So 3 years, 3 years at welterweight, and almost 6 or 7 years at super welterweight. All right, but he's considered a welterweight, I believe. All right, but he's a big welterweight. Shane Mosley, same thing. He spent some time at welterweight, then he went up to super welterweight. All right. So these are bigger guys. So when they say he challenged himself to face Bernard Hopkins, not really. And then he calls Bernard Hopkins an all-time great. Yet Floyd Mayweather is not an all-time great. I don't understand, really. How is that possible? Let's see. So Floyd Mayweather is an all-time great. Not an all-time great, but Bernard Hopkins is. Because he went on 10 years after beating Oscar De La Hoya to fight and kick ass. Well, to be honest with you, Bernard Hopkins' career was about, I think it's 28 years. Is it 28 years? What's it? 2016. Yeah, 28 years. Okay? But he never had an amateur career. Whereas Floyd's career was 32 years when you include his amateur career. Okay? So you can't really say, of course, his pro career was a lot longer than Floyd's. Floyd's is 20-year pro career. Hopkins is 28, but that's because Hopkins never had an amateur career. He learned on the job. So he was fresher. He could go longer. Let's put it that way. So when you look at it, Dougie Fischer is talking about 10 years, more years kicking ass. That's cool, but really doesn't make you an all-time great because of longevity. You have to look at who you faced, like he said, the conditions under which you faced them, and so on. All right? Let's keep it going.
So how much should that loss count against him? You have people in boxing who won 200 plus fights, Willie Pep, and only lost 10 or 11 fights.
Well, that's why.
Good. So, first of all, thank you, Dougie Fischer. With your hate, you actually contradicted yourself. So Oscar De La Hoya's loss to Bernard Hopkins did not count against him because he's facing Floyd Mayweather. So you can't go and say that Floyd Mayweather faced an older, worn-out Oscar De La Hoya, and therefore, because of that, you can't give him credit for that fight. All right? You can't. Because at the same time, you have to say that Mayweather's fight against Oscar De La Hoya was a valid fight. Okay? That's what you just said. Then he goes on to talk about Willie Pep having, go ahead.
How many times? How much should those losses count against Willie Pep? You got to look at that. You have to, Kid Chocolate, 132. I'm talking about the original Kid Chocolate. Okay, featherweight, featherweight, junior lightweight champ. He fought in the 20s and 30s, and he was brilliant. He won 132 fights. He only lost 10 times.
All right. So they're comparing now Floyd's record, or someone who has not lost a fight, and he only lost a certain amount of times with 100 and something. They like to always call these big, humongous records. 229 fights, 11 losses. Yeah, sounds impressive. 241 fights. But when you break it down, it's not as impressive as you think. 136 fights, 10 losses. Sounds great, doesn't it? Here's the problem with that. I'm just going to show you. He faces a guy, Calvin Woodland, 8-4-0. Ray Coleman, 10-21-3. This is Willie Pep, 1-7-0. This is, of course, at the end of his career, but still these fights count to his tally, right? These are the wins and the losses, right? He loses to a guy that's 8-4-0, by the way. But anyway, that's another story. Tommy Hatton, 13-11-1. He's supposed to have a lot of experience. Willie Little, 10-7-1. Johnny Gilmore, 3-8-2. But you get my point? This is not top level, top caliber competition, in other words. In no way, shape, and form. This is worse than a Conor McGregor fight. At least Conor had some kind of background in combat sports and striking. These guys are like fresh off the market. Like they have no real boxing experience. Okay? Sonny Leon was a good fight. And he lost to Sonny Leon. He lost to Hogan, Ken Bassi, but how many times did he face these guys? That's another thing. How many rematches did these guys have? You also have to take that into consideration. All right, so he beat the guy 11-46-2. Come on now. 7-17-1. Okay, this is average kind of guy. Look at it. Look at these fights. Okay, let's go to the prime of his career, which would be somewhere in the 1950s. Let's go somewhere here, 1952, let's say. He's still facing guys that are 3-0-0 and 3-14-0, 18-12-3. And you can say he's fighting them continuously, but the problem with this is this. These guys are not a threat to this guy. He's going 10 rounds with them. It's a lot of work. It's good work, but it's like sparring. It's like an exhibition match. You guys want to talk about Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather's exhibition match. These are exhibition matches. They're not expected to lose. So how many actual significant fights did these guys have in a given year? Let's look at 1951, for instance. Sandy Sadler. That was a significant fight. He lost it, but it was a significant fight, right? You have Corky Gonzalez, all right, that he faced a couple weeks before. It looks kind of significant. He's probably an average dude, an average boxer, maybe a C+ level boxer, maybe a C level, maybe a D level boxer. Okay. Who else is a decent guy here? You got Pat Lacobusi. He's a decent guy. And Carlos Chavez. These are decent guys. All right. But these are not... See, boxers today, they fight guys with such higher standards than these guys. Okay? So in 1951, he had three kind of warm-up fights, what we would call warm-up fights today. Guys who are C+ C level fighters. You fight some of them to stay busy. It's kind of like when you're now starting to box, you start to fight those kinds of fighters. A little harder competition. This is what this guy's fighting in the prime of his career. In 1951, basically, he has 4 semi-decent fights in which the really mega fight, or the really good fight there was Sandy Sadler, which he lost. So he really had one good fight in 1951. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So this record here of 229 and 11-1, they sound great. They do. It sounds fantastic, but you got to take off all that excess fat, and then you got to take off all those rematches. You know, because this was something, Boxing Beats and Rhymes, when I was with their hangout, I remember saying that, I remember Boxing Beats say, what happened if, say, for instance, a Floyd Mayweather faced a Mike McCallum? How many times would Floyd win, and how many times would Mike McCallum win? The thing about it is, if Floyd beats Mike McCallum in the second fight with Floyd will lose again. And he will lose again a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time, and a sixth time, because Floyd would have figured him out. So with very, very intelligent fighters like Floyd, which are on a whole other level, you just look at his history. Jose Luis Castillo. Okay, the first fight was kind of tough. Second one was easier. Marcos Maidana. First fight was tough. Second one was easier. Floyd figured you out. And there's only so much change you can do to your core style. So that once a guy gets your core style, it's over. Doesn't matter what extra things you do. So, it's the same thing with Willie Prep. If you beat somebody, unless you're old, you're more than likely going to beat him again unless you take him for granted or you didn't train for it. You understand what I'm saying? Nowadays, like I try to explain to a lot of people have sparring instead. And in sparring sessions, sometimes guys go for the kill. Sometimes guys go in there and they're really trying to take your head off. Sometimes sparring sessions go for 20 rounds, 30 rounds. Sometimes they go long, long rounds. You see the gym wars and all that shit that happens. So it's a little bit different, but there's not a whole set of people coming to see the fights. But when you look at it, there's a lot more work that happens during the year. Just like they just don't go on your official record. So Willie Pep, 229, 11-1 sounds impressive, but it's a lot of padding going on there and a lot of rematches. You understand? Kid Chocolate. Take it like this. Zab Judah. Zab Judah's faced Floyd once in the pros, but Zab Judah's prepared Floyd for a number of fights since then. All right, Zab has been sparring with Floyd continuously for a while. All right, you get what I'm saying? Kid Chocolate, 136, 10, and 6. Sounds great, doesn't it? Sounds great. How Dougie Fischer paints it. Let's just go to smack dab the middle of his career. Let's go to the middle of his career when he was really hot. Let's go right here. All right. Right. Faced a very experienced fighter here, but before that, he faced a guy 336-11. Stay busy fight, right? He won the colored world featherweight champion. So he was a colored world featherweight champion at the time. Then he faced Phil O'Dowd. That's very good. He faced a relatively inexperienced fighter, but still we'll count him. Johnny Vaca, Bushy Graham, Vic Barone. All of these are good fights. This is an experienced fighter. Not the best, but he's experienced. He's another experienced fighter. Then he faces a guy 36-4-5. It's a close fight. He gets a split decision win over this guy who seems to be a good fighter. And then he fights this dude. Why are you fighting an experienced dude, man? You think that's all? Then he faces, this guy, he's got some experience. I don't know how good he is or whatever, but whatever. But then you go and you face a guy, these guys are okay. I mean, they're average. They're probably D-level fighters. They win some, they lose some. All right, they get some experience. I'm not mad at them. But a guy, look at this fighter. 15-22-6, 8-14-3. 17-14-4, you're winning more than you're losing. It's almost like a gamble there. All right, but 15-3-3, no experience. I'm more on the winning side, but still no experience. You know what I'm saying? How could you be doing that and you're supposedly a world champion? All of these guys are okay. I would say they kind of break even. Steve Smith, he's okay. I mean, these are like D-level fighters, but you can't explain this guy facing some of these. I mean, these records are miserable, but I mean, sometimes the fighter's better than his record. 17-22-9. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you get him out in the second round. So what I'm saying is that a lot of times these guys, and I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, I could show you. I mean, he was hot here. Here he's fighting for the junior welterweight title. He just barely loses it. This is the guy, Tony Canzoneri, who is a Hall of Famer and an all-time great. Right? I'm not mad at this, but I'm just saying that this is a super featherweight, basically. I'm just saying he won the super featherweight title against a worthy guy here the following year. Okay? And Lou Feldman was a good boxer. Okay? You can tell the good boxers from the ordinary. This is like a C-plus level fighter here. But I'm just saying that's what mostly he's facing. It's kind of like sparring sessions. He's sparring a lot of people. These are not people that can beat him. They're sparring partners. You know what I'm saying? So you get a lot of sparring, and then you end up fighting a real fight. It's like these guys are prepping him for a real fight. Hence the reason the title is not even on the line sometimes. All right? So there's no title on the line here. You know why there's no title on the line here? Because this fight is not a title-worthy fight. This fight's 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 not a title-worthy fight. Now you get one. You get what I'm saying? They stay busy fights. And I just need to get this point across to people. Yeah, he's 136-10-6 because a lot of that 136, those opponents are not a threat to this guy in any way, shape, or form. They're not going to beat him. They're just there to help him stay sharp till he has another big fight. And that's the thing people don't get. They just don't get. And Dougie Fischer, he can pull the wool over your eyes with his argument if you don't know boxing.
And those dudes who beat him when he was still in his prime, they were heavier. Those were fights at junior welterweight against great fighters. Jackie Kid Berg,
No, they were not against junior welterweight. You see, you're talking a lie. They were junior lightweight fighters or super featherweight, not junior welterweight. See, he doesn't even know his boxing. Let's keep it going.
How much of those losses count against him? That's all I'm saying.
Well, one of the ways the fans discredit Mayweather's 49-0 retirement here is by matching it up to Chavez Sr.'s 89-0 start.
Right. He was unbeaten. And
do you think the spread is that measurable? Is that comparable to Mayweather's record?
Listen, to me, the undefeated part is not as important as who you faced when you faced them.
That may be true, but when you face worthy competition and you still beat their ass, then the undefeated part does become important. It does become important. Okay?
To me, Chavez is special and is a great Mexican fighter and an all-time great because he fought Rocky Lockridge at lightweight when Lockridge was dangerous.
He fought Rocky Lockridge at lightweight when lightweight was dangerous. Rocky Lockridge was dangerous. Let me show you something, guys. See, I see through all of this rubbish. That's the problem with it. I see through everything. So here is Oscar De La Hoya. He faced Rocky Lockridge. Here it is right here. 1986. Got a majority decision over Rocky Lockridge. See, before 1986, Rocky Lockridge had faced another opponent. Alright? I don't know why this is happening, but it's happening again. But anyway, in 1986, Rocky Lockridge had faced Julio Cesar Chavez. What people forget to say is that Wilfredo Gomez moved up to super featherweight and beat Rocky Lockridge, beating him the same way Chavez did. So Chavez had a blueprint on how to beat Rocky Lockridge. People don't talk about that. You want to know something else? Anyway, so they said Rocky Lockridge was dangerous. Yeah, he was dangerous. True, he was dangerous. It didn't mean Chavez didn't know how to beat him. And he did beat him, by the way. I'm just saying. So, when you're talking about Rocky Lockridge and you want to praise Chavez for beating Rocky Lockridge, you just have to praise Floyd Mayweather for beating Oscar De La Hoya. You have to give the credit because you got to be consistent. You can't be praising up Rocky Lockridge like that, but you're bringing down Oscar De La Hoya. Because Oscar De La Hoya, okay, let me show you something. That wasn't the only guy that beat Rocky Lockridge. Eusebio Pedrosa beat him twice, and Juan Laporte knocked his ass out. Juan Laporte was a very good featherweight fighter, okay? So, he suffered 1, 2, 3, 4 losses before Julio Cesar Chavez faced him, like Oscar De La Hoya. In fact, Oscar De La Hoya only lost to two people, which would be, he lost to Sugar Shane Mosley, and he lost to Winky Wright. No, what the hell am I talking about? That's no. Sugar Shane Mosley lost to, my bad, and Bernard Hopkins. Alright? And he only lost to Sugar Shane Mosley once, for the record. He did not lose to Tito Trinidad, and he did not lose to Sugar Shane Mosley the second time, in my opinion. So he really lost to 2 people. Bernard Hopkins and Sugar Shane Mosley before he faced Floyd Mayweather. Technically speaking. But Julio Cesar Chavez, he had the blueprint to beat this dude. Eusebio Pedrosa beat him twice. Wilfredo Gomez beat him just before him, 2 fights before him. And Juan Laporte had knocked his ass out. Had stopped him. Alright? I'm just saying. You want to praise Chavez. Well, you know, you're talking about Hopkins stopping Oscar. Well, Juan Laporte put this boy to sleep in the second round. And I mean to sleep. I'm just saying. So you want to praise about Rocky Lockridge, get your facts right. I'm just saying.
He fought Roger Mayweather at junior lightweight and at junior welterweight when Roger was the Mexican assassin, when Roger was the Black Mamba.
Yes, that's true, except for one thing you're still leaving out, is that when you look at Roger Mayweather, the first time he beat Roger Mayweather, he stopped him, right, in the second round. What people forget to say is that Rocky Lockridge stopped Roger Mayweather in the second round as well. See, this is the problem. This is the problem we have to deal with. Alright? That's what people do. Julio Cesar Chavez, alright, knocked out Roger Mayweather in the second round. Actually, Rocky Lockridge knocked him out in the first round the year before. Just the year before. Alright? Just so people know. If you're going to tell the story, tell the whole story. Chavez wasn't the first person to knock him out. It was Rocky Lockridge. When he was the Black Mamba. Yeah, he was the Black Mamba, no doubt about that. But just put all the facts in there. Just stuff all the facts in there. Let's keep it going. Give me all the facts.
When he was dangerous, when he was cold cocking guys with his right hand.
Yeah, he got cold cocked by Rocky Lockridge too. You forgot that part. I'm not saying he doesn't hit hard, but I'm saying he got his ass knocked out the year before. That's what I'm saying. And so when Chavez knocked his ass out again, there was a blueprint how to knock his ass out. That's all I'm saying. No disrespect to Roger Mayweather, but it is what it is. I'm just saying. Keep it moving.
And a slick boxer at the same time. Chavez is special to me because he fought Meldrick Taylor, because he fought Edwin Rosario.
You see that Meldrick Taylor? That one was a real win. That was a real win. That was a real win. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about, because I mean that was a real win. Meldrick Taylor, not Edwin Rosario. Edwin Rosario, there's still an asterisk on that. I'll show you what I mean. Meldrick Taylor got KO'd in the 12th round. Meldrick Taylor was winning this fight on 2 judges' scorecards. Meldrick Taylor was going to beat this guy. This guy went. It was 2 minutes and 58 seconds in the round. It was just 2 more seconds to the end of the round, and he stopped this motherfucker. He stopped him. I give him all props in the world for that. Meldrick Taylor was a big, strong, super lightweight. He was big. He was strong. And he broke him down, man. He broke him down. He broke him down to the body. That was a hell of a fight. He came from behind to pull that off, and he was undefeated. You know, when a fighter's undefeated, they don't know about taking no loss. They go to the nth degree. You know, Ricky Hatton, he didn't know how to take a loss. When Floyd stopped him, he didn't know how to take a loss. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that is a bona fide win. Edwin Rosario, on the other hand, that he mentioned, I'm gonna show you something. He was the number one lightweight in the world at the time. But I want to show you something about Edwin Rosario. He was coming off of a loss to start with. All right, he lost to Hector Camacho. He had a couple fights here, which was good. He lost to Hector Camacho. And besides that, just the 3 years before, he was knocked out by Jose Luis Ramirez. Yeah, he had also got knocked. He got his ass knocked out. Okay, so Chavez should have known. I could stop this dude. I had to stop him late, but I could stop him. All right, he had been knocked out before. So it's just these things. You know, people talk about Edwin Rosario. Edwin Rosario. You know, they talk about him and they praise him a lot. And he did some great things as a Puerto Rican fighter. Don't get it wrong. He came back. He bounced back, but he more like a Zab Judah than anything else. Let's just put it that way. He's not even like a Zab Judah, because Zab Judah still got a chin. Edwin Rosario didn't really have a chin, but still a hell of a fighter. I'm just saying. And as we're talking about that, Jose Luis Ramirez, man, he got a good win over Jose Luis Ramirez, and that was at lightweight, right? That was his last lightweight fight. But that was also controversial to some degree. As you can see, it was a technical decision, and all the judges had it for Chavez, and I still, up to this day, I still don't really quite understand how. I thought Ramirez beat him, but it was still a good win. That is definitely a good win. Beating Jose Luis Ramirez. And again, people talk about Floyd being old, but Ramirez, he was way up there as well in age. And Chavez beat him, you know what I'm saying? And he's definitely a Hall of Famer, Jose Luis Ramirez. Again, a controversial match, kind of like what Mayweather with Castillo. The only thing I have to say, though, is that I noticed Chavez never gave Jose Luis Ramirez a rematch. He never did. Controversial win. He never gave the guy a rematch. That's something Floyd did. He gave, if you say, oh, you think the other guy beat me? Okay. All right. Rematch me. Give you a rematch then. He never gave this dude a rematch. He never gave Pernell Whitaker a rematch. I'm just saying.
can go on and on and on. He fought the best fighters at junior lightweight, junior welterweight, and then he tried to step up to welterweight and beat Whitaker, and Whitaker beat him.
Yeah.
But it was a draw. But
Okay, now he says that he fought the best fighters at junior lightweight, junior welterweight, and welterweight. Not necessarily the very best fighter, but he did, at least on one occasion, do so. And that would be Edwin Rosario, okay, and Pernell Whitaker. Those were the two. He fought the best welterweight, which was Pernell Whitaker, and he did fight the best. What was it? Was it junior welterweight? I think. Was Rosario junior welterweight? What fight was that? Let me have a look. I'll tell you. Okay, hold on a second here. He fought. Let's see. I don't know. Actually, no. So he fought Rosario, who was the best lightweight. So he fought the best lightweight in the world, was Rosario. He did not fight the best super lightweight in the world, unfortunately for him. He did not fight the best super featherweight in the world either, which was Brian Mitchell, and at a certain point was Wilfredo Gomez. He didn't fight he fought the best welterweight. He did not fight the best super lightweight in the world, which is interesting. He didn't, even though he became the best super lightweight in the world. But he did fight the best super welterweight in the world. So there you go. And then I guess later on he fought the best super lightweight in the world, in Oscar, I guess. Or at least Oscar became the best super lightweight in the world. He was, I guess, the best super lightweight in the world at a certain point in time. So anyway, and he didn't fight Pernell Whitaker at lightweight. Was it? I think it was lightweight, yeah. But that's all kafufu. The point behind it is this, right? Dougie Fischer, who's hating on Floyd and all of that stuff and talking about worthy opposition of Chavez, when you look at Floyd's opposition, I mean, shit. We got Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao at the time was the second best welterweight in the world, and he was the third pound for pound best fighter in the world. Okay? Alvarez was the number one super welterweight in the world when Floyd faced him. Miguel Cotto was the number one super welterweight in the world when Floyd faced him. Shea Mosley was the number one welterweight in the world when Floyd faced him. He had just knocked out Antonio Margarito. Ricky Hatton was the number one super lightweight in the world when Floyd faced him. Carlos Baldomero was the number one welterweight in the world when Floyd faced him. Jose Luis Castillo was the number one lightweight in the world when Floyd faced him. Diego Corrales was the number one super featherweight in the world when Floyd faced him. And Genaro Hernandez was the number one super featherweight in the world when Floyd faced him. I'm just saying. So Dougie Fischer is praising up Julio Cesar Chavez, and Floyd Mayweather is like dwarfing this guy, you know, in terms of people's perception of these fighters may have been one thing, but when you actually go into the, you know, the nitty gritty, and you want to say Floyd chose his opponents, but yet Chavez didn't choose his opponents. Why did Chavez do the honorable thing when he had a close, tight match, or he had a draw, and rematch the guys to show that he was a superior fighter? Why didn't he rematch Pernell Whitaker? Why didn't he rematch Jose Luis Ramirez? Why didn't he rematch Rocky Lockridge if these fights were so close? Why didn't he rematch them? I'm just saying. These guys are bad for boxing. Dougie Fischer, he's supposed to be a historian. They're bad for boxing because they don't paint the true picture of boxing. And this is why I want you guys to understand. Filter through. Obviously, this guy doesn't like Mayweather, but when you come with this biasness and stuff that's baseless, and you try to put down a fighter to lift up your own brand of fighters, that's where I get pissed off. Because these guys, like Larry Merchant, like even Emmanuel Stewart later on in his career when he hated Floyd Mayweather for reasons unknown to me, And this jackass here, when you do these things, and Oscar De La Hoya, when you have your agendas and you hate agendas and you just don't like certain fighters, so you're gonna put them down, it hurts the sport, man. We need more positive people saying positive things about the sport of boxing. And Dougie Fischer knows Floyd has done something just incredible. All right, even if you exclude the Conor McGregor and the Andre Berto, and you just had it at 48-0, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. All right, and Andre Berto, I mean, Andre Berto was like a stay busy fight for Floyd. How many 40-year-olds you think could have hanged with Conor McGregor? How many 40-year-old boxers? They'll say, "Oh, I could have hanged with Floyd," but we know Sugar Ray Leonard, he wasn't going to do nothing to Conor. He was going to get his ass whooped. You know why? Oscar even admitted he might win 2 rounds and then get his ass whooped. You know why? These guys can't hang with these guys because their careers ended in their early 30s, man. Oscar was getting his ass whooped by Pacquiao when he was about 35 years old. What's his name? Sugar Ray Leonard got his ass handed to him by Terry Norris when he was 30-something years old, 34, 35 years old. If we're being real here, if we're being real and honest here, man, you're a fossil when you're 40, especially if you had an amateur career. You don't fight when you're 40. And Floyd did something unique in that he did a crossover match, which got our imaginations going, you know. Dougie Fischer said he didn't see the fight, and he watched the first round, and then he starts talking about the fight, telling me that he lied about not seeing the fight in the first round of the fight to start with. But my point being this, these guys secretly admire Floyd Mayweather in the background. I even listened to Boom Boom Mancini talking about how Floyd's boring and Floyd's this and that. Then he comes back in the same breath and says, man, this guy, he's unbelievably skilled. He's unbelievably talented. And then he comes back and he says how, you know, for the other average person, he's boring and so on. I mean, why do you have to be tongue-in-cheek about this guy? You know how good he is. You know how good he is. Why do you have to, in the industry, be an asshole when you know better? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, man, you guys have a great one.